Hey, Gavin.
Hey, Louie.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's nice and cool and rainy here in the Adirondacks.
The beautiful Adirondacks this time of year. I heard they're gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely.
Please check on my summer vacation home. You know I have one in at least 40 of the 50 states.
Just here in the foothills for all you foot fetishists.
Oh my god. If you guys... Should we start a Patreon? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome, everyone.
Sign up for the Mixed Reviews OnlyFans. It's just
only feet.
Well, yeah, only feet.
Maybe we should start... is there only feet instead of OnlyFans?
I think you have $1 million idea there, Louie, and
Thank you.
I can't wait to exploit it and to cut you out of it once it's very popular. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mixed Reviews.
Hi, everyone. We don't talk about feet only. We are also a movie podcast.
Absolutely. We take a subject such as an actor, director, or a mini genre, and we talk about the entire history of it, and then we're like, these things are good, and these things are bad, and these
I don't
are
know
the
if you
things
guys
we
have
like.
known this about us, but we have opinions.
We do.
We've got something to say. We're just annoying gay Twitter, but in your ears, and you don't have to read it.
Absolutely. Reading. Passe.
I don't think so, honey.
The only thing that gets read around here is each other.
Yeah, but mostly Gavin.
Yeah.
Starts crying. Gavin, should we get some old business out of the way?
Absolutely, because we have a good amount of old business.
We do. Last episode we talked about our good Judy Catherine O'Hara.
Oh my goodness. It was so good and so fun, and leaving her behind was I was like taking a puppy out of my arms, like no, just bring it back.
You were like, maybe I should just rewatch all of Schitt's Creek. I don't know who. It's for the podcast. Yeah, I need to do this.
Who can stop me? I am unemployed.
There you go. He's crying again, guys. We asked you guys to go online and vote for your favorite Catherine O'Hara movie. And here are the results. Home Alone came in at 8% for your consideration, which was my pick, came in at 13%. Best in Show, that was your pick, right, Gavin?
Yes.
Came in at 35%, and Beetlejuice squeaked out the win with 44%. That's just a fan fave, hun. People said that we should have put A Mighty Wind in the poll.
Yes, I did see that. And then, obviously, as I mentioned in the poll, we couldn't stop you from voting for Schitt's Creek, and a couple people did. They were like, Schitt's Creek? Which, not a movie, but I understand. You know?
It's funny, we were talking about this, how, eventually we will hit everyone who is in Beetlejuice. We've already hit 3 of the actors in the episode. Who knows? It will be back. Yeah,
stay tuned for Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder double feature.
Yeah, totally. We also have some other old news, though.
We do.
Some so fun, so happy little reviews. And honey, these are not mixed.
Not at all. So, as we mentioned at the end of every episode, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, it'd be a great favor to us to go there and leave a 5-star rating and a review. And we actually, over the last couple weeks, have gotten 3 more reviews. And as we promise, we're reading them here on the show.
So the first one, it says, so fun, great pod to learn the history of our most loved stars, genres, etc. And the easiest way to get movie recommendations. No more endless scrolling on streaming devices. Thank God. That comes from an absolute stranger named Corey.
Oh, excellent.
I don't know her at all. We do not share the same mother. So thanks, Corey, for listening, and thanks for writing. The next one is a treat. What is it like? Gavin and Louie know their film stuff, or at least thoroughly research it, and present it so entertainingly. Whether or not I am super familiar with the subject, I end up either with new movies to add to my queue, or the strong desire to rewatch some favorites. They own 51% of my podcast downloads. Honey, we are the CEOs, we are the VPs, the VIPs, and that comes from our longtime listener, Megan. Thank you so much, Megan. We appreciate you, and we love your comment.
And by the way, Louie and I will be fighting in a fountain over control of your downloads at the end of this. Our last 5-star review comes from Lady Brown 1984. It's titled Love the Angela Bassett Review. Me.
Mama.
I thoroughly enjoyed the review on Miss Bassett. It's the first of the reviews I've seen for this podcast. You both have me laughing so hard at times. I love Angela Bassett as an actress, and I too am hoping she gets a really amazing dramatic role soon and showcases her talent and leads to her Oscar. She's definitely at her best in dramatic roles. She's nominated again for 2 Emmys, so hoping she gets at least 1. I'm excited about Gunpowder Milkshake. Bomb review. Informative, enjoyable, and well-researched. It is obvious you both put time and effort into this. Looking forward to checking out some others. Thank you so much, Lady Brown.
I love this comment so much because it's my favorite part about this kind of library that we've amassed. We are in our 70s now.
This is our 75th episode.
Yes. And
congrats.
And like, I know that these episodes are long. I know that like people, now with the no commuting going on, it's hard to like commit to like listening to stuff. But like my favorite thing is though, literally you can go through our library and like pick someone and then just like take a couple days to go through someone either you really like or someone maybe you've always wanted to get into. And like this person who loves Angela Bassett, she got through the show, really liked it, and is like, oh, maybe now I'll go and find some other people that I like too. So it's so rewarding to hear that. So thank you so much for that review. And thanks to everyone else who sent in a review.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned before, please go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and we'll read it on the show because we love you.
We love you. But enough old business. I think it's high time we get into our new business. I'm really excited about our topic today. I think our subject is very cool, has a weird career, a lot of fun movies. I think the reviews will be very mixed today. So Gavin, who are we talking to today? About today. Sorry, not talking to today. He's here.
Please welcome to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, before I say it, I just need to say one thing. Let's dance! It's Kevin Bacon!
Oh my god, yes.
Did you see the glitter fall down when I did that? I know podcasting is a visual medium, famously.
Literally, me and Derek were like, do you think they had glitter falling down the entire time, or is that like effects? And in my head, I just think there is a glitter master up top in the rafters just shaking a box full of glitter for like 7 hours straight.
7 hours, just like,
Yeah.
If I see one more cartwheel.
Yes, so we're talking about Kevin Bacon, and we won't just be talking about Footloose, but Footloose will be talked about.
Oh, will be.
Oh, she's coming up. But yeah, we were talking about who we should cover for this episode, and again, we've been kind of having some trouble kind of figuring out where to land. We knew we wanted someone who had like a long career, had an interesting mix of movies. I don't know how Kevin Bacon came up. How, Gavin? Do you remember?
We were talking about 80s actors, specifically, Val Kilmer. So if anybody's interested
Val Kilmer was a close second.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in that, please let us know, because we can easily do that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it just felt like, this is our 75th episode. It felt like doing somebody who is big and connects to people. And obviously Kevin Bacon has, as you mentioned, he's been around the block. He's been around the block several times,
mm-hmm.
but he
bought a house, he moved in, started a family.
Absolutely. He's in the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
But he has done so much work and such a variety of work. And the whole 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon is because of that. Which, if people don't know, there was this game invented sometime in the 90s because Kevin Bacon was in every movie, or you could connect him to, he's been in films with Meryl Streep, and he's been, it's hard to name all of the people he's been. I mean, he was in a fucking movie with Reba McEntire. How many movies has Reba McEntire been in?
Yeah, you can connect him to literally anyone in 6 Degrees or less, and it's kind of amazing. And
And it just became one of those things, too, where it's like, well, I kind of do want to know more, because the things I know about Kevin Bacon are he works a lot and he's married to Kira Sedgwick for like 30 years.
Yeah. And
so I was just like, you know what? It would be a good time to dig in. We got the moment. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's dance.
So you'd mentioned that the things that you knew about Kevin Bacon. Do you remember like how you found Kevin Bacon? Like your first impression of Kevin Bacon?
I do. I have vivid memories. Back in the late 80s, my parents, who were young people at the time, would go, every now and then. They had 3 kids. Every now and then they wanted to have a date night. So, some Fridays they'd go out to dinner, and they hired a babysitter. It was this young woman, and I cannot remember her name. But after a couple weeks of doing that, me and my sisters got together to complain to my parents, most likely just my sisters, because I don't know how verbal I was at that point, that she was watching Grease every time that she came over to babysit. So my parents...
I love her so much. She's my friend.
Ugh. Grease too, maybe. But but my parents mercifully decided to tape over Grease with another film that they thought she might watch less. And that film is Footloose. And let me tell you, she did not watch it less.
Why would they think that she would watch Footloose less? That makes no fucking sense. They're like, do you want a movie that's even more fun?
Exactly.
What the fuck?
And that's what my sister Nicole never complained about Footloose. And I think, that's the true testament.
Yeah. Yeah. Because she wanted to get Footloose.
She did. Do you remember your first impression of Kevin Bacon?
I mean, I'm sure I saw him a lot of places, but the most striking memory I have of him growing up, and this is not real, because like I surely saw like Tremors and like Animal House before this, but what sticks out to my memory is literally watching Hollow Man over and over and like pausing it because you can see his butt and like his like naked Hollow Man body.
I was going to say, you can see more than his butt. Fun fact about Hollow Man, they had to take an entire scan of his body, and then they donated that scan to science.
Honey, they could have donated to 7th grade me, because I was like, oh my God. And there must have been, like, I mean, there's also, like, the scene where he's, like, sexually assaulting that woman, and, like, the scene where, like, also this is assault where he's, like, grabbing that woman's nipple, and I was just like,
Kim Dickens.
I was like, this movie is bad, but like bad in the sense of like naughty. And yeah, the Hollow Man is the moment I think when I really was like, oh, I'm gonna look for him everywhere. I remember seeing him in Wild Things, and again his butt's in that movie, and I was like,
once again, more than his butt. I mean, I Wild Things I think is when I was really exposed to Kevin's Bacon. And yes,
so stupid, Gavin.
And I mean, here's the thing, and we're gonna get into the rewind in just a moment, but he is a specimen. Like he really is. And the funny thing is that there's a very famous quote, and I can't remember who to attribute it to, unfortunately, about Angelica Houston, and that's Angelica Houston isn't beautiful, but she's sexy. And that's kind of how I feel about Kevin Bacon. Is I watch some of these movies and I'm like, is he handsome? He's striking. Is he handsome? And I was like, not always. But you know what? He's always fucking sexy.
Yeah, he leads with the hips and the groin.
Yes.
It's like the combination of like his power rests in his like pelvis, and also it doesn't fucking hurt that he has the most amazing head of hair like this
absolutely.
planet has ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, well, why don't we get into our rewind while we both blush?
I know, we're just like thinking, okay.
We're like, so episode over, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Okay, let's get into rewind. I had the pleasure of doing the rewind research for Mr. Bacon. He was born on July 8th, 1958. He is from Philadelphia. He's the youngest of 6 kids.
Too many.
He said about his childhood, that his parents were very hands-off because, like, they just, by the time they get to the 6th kid, they don't give a fuck. They're just like, okay, yeah, great, like, do whatever you want. And he said, like, he's never described them being bad parents or whatever. His mom was an elementary school teacher and was an activist, and his dad was an architect who worked for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. He said, what he did not say was that it was a bad childhood. He said that they were very hands-off to a fault. That they could have had more oversight. They could have, and he said, comparing to his parenthood to his children, he's like, oh my God, me and Kira are way more protective and like kind of helicopter parenting over our kids than like my parents ever were. They were like, bye. He got a scholarship to go to a school for the arts. And after that, he like literally left to go to their college. Was never an option, was never a thing that was going to happen. His dad gave him some money to go to New York, and he started taking classes at Circle in the Square. He
said,
said,
at 17.
Yeah, 17 years old.
My parents were great and supportive and like incredibly supportive of what I did, but there was no resistance whatsoever because we didn't even talk about going to college. That was not even in my, that was not even a discussion that I had. There was no part of them that said, plus they were very, very just hands off from everything that I did. I mean, to a fault, I think sometimes. I'm much more involved with my children than my parents were with me. So they said, fine. My father gave me a little bit of money. It was something like, somehow $4,000 sounds like the number. And that's, nothing to, sniff out. And that was to pay for the acting school, which I think was $2,000 maybe for the first year or something like that, or something like that. So I had that, and I had my sister's couch, and that was the beginning.
And he said that, when he was a kid, he always just knew he wanted to be famous. He just wanted to be famous.
Yeah, he said that when he was like a baby, he knew he wanted to be famous.
Barely being able to walk, I would walk into a room and have this intense desire for people to look at me. Some actors will claim that that's not part of their DNA, and it's bull. As you either want to be the center of attention or you just are a liar. Because that's what we do. I mean, we perform.
To have the humility to say that now and to admit, because I think most people like bullshit that now and be like, oh my God, no, I'm just like a small town, whatever. I never dreamed. Like, he's willing to be real enough to be like, yeah, I always wanted this. And, I'm not going to, a lot of the interviews I saw with him, he's always like, when he is complaining about something, he's like, I mean, who cares? Like, whatever. Like, I became a star. And he just has this like earnestness about him that I really appreciate.
Well, that's definitely one of the things I discovered over the 2-week research process as well, is he is incredibly self-introspective, and he's like done the work to keep it up. And he's said over and over in interviews, like, they're like, oh, now that you're, have you achieved the star status? And he's like, no.
There still isn't a moment.
Really?
No, definitely not. The best gig, the best scene, or the best moment, or whatever is around the corner. It's not here yet.
What's that story he tells where he's like, one time I was on a plane with like Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Meryl Streep, and me, and he's like, God, if this plane goes down, I'm not even gonna make the headline. But all that to say, anyway, that he is very, like, he knows himself, and he has known himself for a long time, and that which led to him going to New York when he was 17 and taking classes at Circle in the Square Theater and studying the craft of being an actor. I believe he was living with his sister, staying on her couch while he was waiting tables and being a busboy. And he said he sucked at it. He was awful at it, but like, it's just, the most cliche actor thing in New York. And this is like in the 70s, and he wanted to be like the big time. He was like he saw all these like old movies and the stars of the day, and he was really aching for that. And his first move, so he did a couple things. He was modeling a little bit. There's a really fun clip of him on Rosie O'Donnell where he was a roller skate model in a pamphlet book thing.
Yeah. Where did you go to the rinks? Did you do it out in public?
I did it in Central Park, and I did it at, there were a few roller discos here. Roseland, I think, actually was a roller disco here in New York, and it was a whole, kind of subculture, and it was, the wheels weren't lined up back then.
Right.
Yeah, we had the wheels in a square. Not like today when they have them lined up, But I was into it, dancing, and, it was great.
And then he also was on some soap operas.
Yes.
He was on Guiding Light for a year.
Mom, look, I'm sorry your name's in the papers. I didn't want you to get involved in this mess.
Oh, Tim, don't worry about that, okay?
But I do.
But it doesn't bother me at all. And nobody's mentioned it at the hospital at all.
Yeah, not to your face, maybe.
He says he hated it.
I listened to him talk a little bit more about it too, and he basically, he loved the consistency of it. He loved the idea that there was always a paycheck, that there was always going to be work in soaps, but it's just the pace and the speed in which you do it, and like they incentivize you getting stuck in doing that, and he genuinely didn't want to do that. I don't want to blow my wad on the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon thing yet, but I do have I can connect myself and now you to Kevin Bacon because my friend Nadine from high school, her uncle lived with Kevin Bacon in the 70s as roommates. And on top of that, the reason this is coming up is because you mentioned roller skating. Kevin Bacon taught her uncle how to roller skate backwards.
Wow. See, and so that's what, like, some from Kevin to the uncle to Nadine to you, and then to me, that's like, that's not even 7. That's like, like, oh my God, it works. See, America, it works.
Shout out to Nadine. And
Thank you, Nadine, and her uncle, and roller skating. So his first like big gig is in National Lampoon's Animal House.
Yes.
That's where he gets his SAG card. He gets, you know, he says the audition was very like kooky booky.
I didn't have an agent. I didn't have any kind of real idea about the business at all. And I went for this first audition. There wasn't that much to say. I mean, I don't have that many lines in the movie, so I guess I said what I said. John Landis was the director, and he said, "So look smarmy, like make like smarmy face." And honestly, I had no idea what that word meant. It wasn't in my vocabulary, but I figured had a little bit of an onomatopoeia kind of thing, so I kind of made this, face that I thought sounded, smarmy. He's like, I love smarmy. So the next time I went back, he did the same thing. Just make that face again, and
he tells this great story of how he thought he was going to be a star. He quit his job from waiting tables.
His teacher at Circle in the Square was like, "They're paying you to act."
It's a small role, and he literally even had to take like the night off to go see the premiere. And literally, the movie didn't do much for his career. He says, that he didn't even have an agent at the time. He didn't get an agent after that movie. I don't know if we need to talk about Animal House too much. Like, he's barely in it. The movie's a classic. It's fun shenanigans that would never, ever happen now. But he comes back from Animal House. He does the soaps, and he just starts doing a lot of theater. He is doing a lot of off-Broadway stuff, a lot of off-Broadway stuff that he calls toilet theater. So Animal House was in 1978. In 1980, he has a small role in Friday the 13th, which, Gavin, I'll pass along to you. Is there anything we need to say about this? It's a kind of iconic scene.
I mean, not really, other than the fact that, he's in it and he has sex and then dies. He's on a bed and a spear goes through his throat. And
Spoiler.
Yeah, well, sorry. Most everybody dies. But that's one of the few Friday the 13th movies where Jason is not the killer. So fans of Scream know that.
So he does a lot of work, and he actually wins an Obie Award, which is the off-Broadway version of the Tonys, for his role in 40 Deuce. And then he makes his Broadway debut in Slab Boys, where he casually is playing against then unknown Sean Penn and Val Kilmer. And he has said, Sean, back then he knew that he was going to be a huge star because he was just so good and he loved working with him. And I love even like doing this stuff like 40 Deuce and Slab Boys. He says that, and we've talked about this in other episodes where we talk about people who started in the theater, like Kathy Bates. A lot of the stuff started actually in Louisville. The Louisville theater scene is such a ripe, prestigious breeding ground for eventual Broadway stuff. And I just thought that's so fucking cool. And I don't think enough people know about Louisville's like really cool theater scene. And I would love day one to go and check it out.
Preach. Send it out to the world. Let them know.
Let them know. I want to manifest my next vacation to Louisville. So his real big break, he actually gets an agent literally doing a workshop for a Broadway show. And it's not until he is cast in the movie Diner, which is also in 1982. So the early 80s were really kind of churning for him as an actor, doing Broadway and then finally breaking through in the movies. I unfortunately did not get around to seeing Diner. I saw a lot, but I did not see Diner. But Diner is like an ensemble movie that's starring like so many. I mean, it was like the way he explains it is that there were like they were casting for everyone. Everyone was coming out for this movie in LA and New York, and there was tons of guys, and there's 5 main roles. Gavin, did you watch Diner?
I've seen Diner many times, actually, but I did actually rewatch it for this. I'm not a huge fan of the movie. Rewatching it for this, though, I gained a new appreciation. I think, what's the best way to put it? Both you and I have different perspectives. Everybody has a different perspective, but I also think that there's something about the friendships in that movie are very straight. And I don't know if I've ever had friendships with men the same way that these guys have friendships with each other.
Right.
And it's funny because the movie really came about in the time of like Porky's, and the studio didn't want it because it wasn't like Porky's. And then Pauline Kael wrote a good review, and so they decided to put it out. Kevin Bacon's performance, though, is really amazing. He plays a low-key drunk the entire movie. He clearly has an alcohol problem. He's going to have a terrible life.
I despise you. And yet I'm here.
Get off.
You know, I was a little kid. I always wanted a brother. I told that to Mom once. And she said, you have a brother. I said, oh, that's who the asshole in the other bed is.
What's great about it is Barry Levinson often encouraged everybody to improv, and Kevin Bacon found out on the set that he's not good at improv at all. And so what really worked in the film is being a low-key drunk, he could kind of just sit back and watch everybody and sort of react to the things that were happening. And it really works for the film, and it really works for his performance. And he's maybe him at his most adorable. Like, he still looks like he's still got that like young 20s, like early 20s face in that movie.
Like, he has the most striking blue eyes, like crystal clear Darien Lake eyes. It's just, and he I mean, to this day he still has a boyish face. And all that comes together after Diner. He gets all these great reviews, and just like bam, 84 Footloose. And he, again, like I said, leading with the hips.
Footloose wasn't even his role to begin with. Tom Cruise was attached, couldn't do it because he was doing all the right moves.
He was not the first pick.
But then the director of Footloose saw Diner and was like, Kevin Bacon. Unfortunately, Kevin Bacon was already signed on to lead the movie Christine, based off of the Stephen King novel. Mm-hmm. If you want to hear more about Christine, listen to our Stephen King episode.
Hello.
Self-plug. But, so a movie that didn't even have him locked into the lead role had to convince him to leave a starring role he was already locked into to just audition. And supposedly, even though the head of the studio did not want him, 30 seconds into the audition, they offered him the role.
The other person that was up for the role was Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe, that's right. Who could dance. And that was the other big thing. Because Kevin Bacon required 5 dance doubles for Footloose.
So the reason why Rob Lowe did not take this part was that he had an injury.
Yes.
But Kevin has said that, like, and I don't know how he says, like, the script didn't really suggest how much dancing that there would be, is what he says. He was like, it says that you dance, and he's like, I mean, I go dancing all the time, whatever. But then, like, he showed up on set, and all of a sudden there's like fucking, I mean, the movie, this kid's doing fucking gymnastics. It's Bring It On, but like, instead of join the cheer squad, he wants to, I don't know, fucking throw a prom. And so literally, I mean, I rewatched this movie and I was like, oh my God, the amount of like ring work, pommel horse, you know, like
you were like holding up tens during the film.
Yeah. And the entire warehouse scene, which is like very classic, iconic for like being so bonkers.
I say this with a lot of love because I rewatched Footloose too, and I gotta say That movie's so much fucking fun. Just absolutely fun from the beginning to the end. It means well, and I think the thing that people miss is it's a fairy tale. It's just a parable. Like it's trying to teach by lesson, and it's having fun along the way. Therefore, a lot of the characters are archetypes. They're not really characters. Like, I love the daughter is like super into her own sexuality, even though for some reason it feels like she's constantly being punished for that.
Right.
But like that, I thought that was slightly progressive for the time period. But that scene, the warehouse scene, is maybe one of the worst things in the world. And it's good and it's fun, but like it provides nothing. It's completely bonkers. And I forgot that it begins with like a full 3-minute flashback to everything you've seen before in the movie.
Yeah.
You just sat through.
I think that movie, and I even said, I was like, is there a musical version of this? And Derek was like, absolutely there is.
Yeah.
It's theater. It's really just like Broadway theater showman, because there's so much style in that movie. There's so much, like, for no reason, like every shot is framed in a way where like there's a shot where like the girl's on the phone and there's like feet right next to her, and it's like there's no reason why someone is sitting down that way so feet are standing up. It's just to have like the aesthetic of like teens being crazy and having fun. But yeah, I love that movie, and I think he's so good dancing, and like just seeing him, and who's the guy who learns how to dance?
Chris Penn. And that's the other thing I was just going to say. First of all, Chris Penn was written... the role was written with Chris Penn in mind, which R.I.P. Chris Penn, because he's no longer with us. But actually, funny enough, and you're not going to believe this, he's the like homophobic cop in Too Long.
I knew that.
Okay.
Please, Gavin.
But he unfortunately has passed away. But on the reverse side of the warehouse scene, the scene where he learns to dance, and I say this with 100% hyperbole, please do not come for me, film Twitter, but honestly, that scene is why the montage was made. Somebody bring Eisenstein back to life and show him that scene, and I'm sure he'd say, "Da, yeah." Because like I was just like, this fucking slaps. This hear it for the boy.
Yeah. The music slaps. Sarah Jessica Parker, Live, Laugh, Love.
I just wanted to say a few words about this motion so that you wouldn't think that we were encouraging destruction with this idea. From the oldest of times, people danced for a number of reasons. They danced in prayer, or so that their crops would be plentiful, or so their hunt would be good. And they danced to stay physically fit and show their community spirit. And they danced to celebrate. And that is the dancing that we're talking about. Yeah. Aren't we told in Psalm 149? Praise ye the Lord. Sing unto the Lord a new song. Let them praise his name in the dance.
Amen.
Okay, Footloose. It happens. We love it. He essentially turns into like a pop star, and he...
Tiger Beat magazine and...
Very that. And he has said that like after... like. There's an interview where it's like, oh, well, so you had the critical acclaim of Diner and like the mega smash box office success of Footloose. Like you could do anything you want. And it's like, he often says, he's like, everything after Footloose was like sliding down the mountain and just like crashing and like less and less returns, less and less success, failures at the box office, critical flops. It was just not good. And truly, I think he had this like identity crisis of literally Hollywood just kept trying to put him in these main leading man roles, and it just never worked, Right.
It's funny because I kept thinking about, while watching this, I kept thinking about Michael Fassbender, which I think to date is still our most controversial episode, or the one that we received the most hate about, but whatever. Sorry, not sorry. But Michael Fassbender is beautiful, but has the heart of a character actor. And I think Kevin Bacon really suffered in that, especially in the late 80s. And like some of these movies, you know, I watched Quicksilver, which is really like just a bonkers film. You know, End of the Line, which is actually secretly a Wilford Brimley movie that just happens to have Kevin Bacon in it.
End of the Line, which is not like, I was like, oh, so they made him big on the poster, and that's about it.
Yes. Yep, exactly. You know, he does the John Hughes, She's Having a Baby, which is not great. And he does, you know, he does the big picture for Christopher Guest, which we mentioned in the Christopher Guest episode, which is good, but nobody saw it.
Right. And he, you know, I think like of this era, the thing that people probably remember the most is maybe Tremors. Just because Tremors now, there's like the expanded Tremors universe, but Tremors didn't. So it bombed at the office, then became a huge hit on VHS.
Stupid son of a bitch. Knocked itself cold. Called my ass. He's dead. We killed him. We killed it. Fuck you!
And he considered it a low point. I've seen interviews with him where he was on set with Kira Sedgwick. And by the way, we should mention, because we have not mentioned yet.
We haven't.
So very early in his career, he meets Kira Sedgwick.
Yeah, they meet doing Lemon Sky.
We actually had Jeff Daniels and Cynthia Nixon to thank for the beginning of our relationship because they were doing a play off Broadway called Lemon Sky, and they came to them and said, we want to do a filmed version of this play, and both of them passed on the job. And I took Jeff's part, and Kira took Cynthia's part.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. I was a complete asshole. I mean, just really, you know, it shocked me that she hadn't seen all my work, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, why would she?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember saying to her something about Footloose, and she had never seen Footloose. I was like, you're kidding me. I didn't even think she was telling me the truth.
I wasn't really interested in hooking up or whatever it is that the kids say these days. Every night after work, he was very, you know, friendly and sweet. And every night after work, he would invite he would say, who wants to go out to dinner? And the whole cast would say yes, except for me. And later on, he told me that the only person he wanted to say yes was me. And I never said yes. And he was always stuck with the check, poor guy.
And so that leads to them getting married on September 4th, 1988, which means they've been together for 30 years now.
My entire life.
Yes. I love them. I love them so much. One of the things that I realized in listening to them talk about each other, and he came from a really liberal family, but I think she really improved him. I think she really expanded his worldview.
Gavin, she is famously the closer.
And she closed that. He's directed many episodes of that, by the way. But I think too, like I said, he's done a lot of the work for himself. And he mentioned when he did the movie He Said, She Said in the 90s, where he was playing a complete sexist asshole. He found himself agreeing with the character a little too much and realizing he needed to change that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I love, basically what I'm saying is I love the fact that they found a person that they not only are able to love for a long time, but have improved each other.
Yeah. They make each other better.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about Tremors for a little bit because Tremors is, I remember watching Tremors and Tremors 2, or the little baby Tremors. And Tremors is a crazy, crazy, crazy movie, about sandworms. I don't know what the fuck they're really called. But they're
graboids is what they call them.
That's a bad name.
That's what they named them in the movie.
But starring Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon as Valentine McKee. And this movie famously also stars Reba McEntire.
Absolutely.
And I forgot about that. And I forgot, the movie is so fun and it is the perfect, like, campy, like, it's not, I mean, it's kind of horror. Is this horror?
It's barely horror, but I mean, it does fall into the horror comedy. But I think a lot of people put it that.
It's like horror, kind of gross.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Ryan Murphy invented horror comedies when he created the TV show Scream Queens, or at least that's what he kept saying during the press tour for that. Because fuck him. Anyways, back to Kevin Bacon.
Gavin, you are popping all the way off right now, Queen.
I don't like it.
Okay. All this to say that Tremors is really fun, and you can. I would never know that he hated doing this movie or thought it was like a piece of shit script or anything.
I was just losing my shit. I mean, just going, I can't believe I'm making this movie. It's about underground worms, and I thought I was, I thought I was in a different place, and that's a very good example because the movie becomes one of the first kind of VHS hits, cult, like VHS hits. And people loved that movie. And I went back, I looked at it, and it's really good. I've been trying to lobby to remake the movie because it's the only character that I've done that I really would like to explore 25 years later.
It's really, really fun. And you know what? It still holds up. Tremors is this tiny little insulated universe. I do not know anything about the expanded Tremors universe. I know that there is one as recent as 2005 that came out.
There's a 2021 coming out this year.
Well, there you go.
Michael Gross has been in all of them, I want to say. He's Reba's husband from the first movie. Yeah.
Yes. I found him kind of strangely attractive. I don't know.
Oh, I'm with you there.
But
it's one of those things where you're just like, are you really the dad from Family Ties?
Yeah.
Like,
Flatliners comes out. It's kind of a big mixed money. They did a remake of it I think last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I forgot that happened, but yep, they did.
You mentioned He Said, She Said, which I was like, what a strange concept to restart a movie halfway through and like make us sit through it again from like her perspective, which is not that different and also makes her look very bad.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
He Said, She Said's not great.
No, it's not. It's very like, uh-oh, I'm a liberal. Uh-oh, you're not, and we're gonna date, and it's bad.
Yeah.
So in 91, two things happen. One, he makes the movie Pirates with his wife Keira Sedgwick, where it's literally about them fucking and starting fires every single time.
They have pyrokinetic incidents when they basically cause spontaneous combustion when they fuck.
And I love this movie. But also in 91, he has this. I read it in a couple places that he got a new agent, but then I heard him also say that he had this agent for a while. I don't know, but essentially he has a conversation with his agent where she says, like, I think we need to kind of calibrate what you're doing, what role you're taking, and understand that like the lead is not always like, the most interesting or the thing that you're going to be the most successful at. And that has to be okay. It's not all about, being top of the bill. It's not all about getting the big paychecks. And I think we can find, the success that you were having when you were like in Diner. He was not the lead. He was like just a piece of this like ensemble.
As a character actor. And I felt things just changed. Like people started calling, and they were calling about smaller but better parts.
So she was working also with Oliver Stone, who made JFK. So that led to him getting the role in JFK of Willie O'Keefe. JFK is, I don't know, the longest movie ever made. Who can ever be sure? Did I finish it? No, I didn't. Because
I mean, if you're watching it for Kevin Bacon, you don't have to.
Right. I got to Kevin Bacon, and you know what? The movie was fine. And then I had to like, I don't know, go do something with my life. And I was just like, the movie a lot is just like, so you want to fucking hear what really happened to JFK? And do you even think this is real? And the coincidences, it's like very much, It's Always Sunny, like trying to connect the dots. And I could not deal with like white men sitting around being like, it's not real. I was like, okay, enough Kevin Costner from New Orleans. I can't do it. I just know a lot of straight guys who think like JFK is the best movie ever because it's telling the truth, and you just need to like watch a movie.
And I went to college with all of them.
Yeah. And then in 1982, he's in A Few Good Men. Kind of same deal. This is a big ensemble cast. We've got Tom Cruise in the lead. We've got Demi Moore, Jack Nicholson, and Kevin Bacon is like not even like on the movie poster. Everyone in that movie is just like chewing the scenery, just like doing the most, like giving their Aaron Sorkin best. And Kevin Bacon is like this nice grounding force where he's like, everyone fucking relax. These are human beings, not fucking like, I don't know, puppets.
Now I want you to acknowledge that the judge advocate has made you aware of the possible consequences involved in accusing a Marine officer of a felony without proper evidence.
I've been so advised.
You got bullied into that courtroom, Danny. By everyone. By Dawson. By Galloway. Shit, I practically dared you. You got bullied into that courtroom by the memory of a dead lawyer.
I did see The Heir Up There, which is, I don't know, a Disney Channel movie.
Like white savior garbage nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's a circumcision joke. I can't.
Mm-hmm. In 1994, he does The River Wild with Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Where again,
a movie where almost everyone died at different points.
This movie is beautiful. Like, it's National Geographic level, like, cinematography of these rushing rivers.
And it's funny because this is not the first time that Kevin Bacon has played a villainous character, but I love Kevin Bacon in villain mode.
It's so scary.
And I think part of it is, and I do want to say about his acting, I think he's a very good actor, actually. And I think he's probably not given enough credit because he's done so many roles and people think of him as Kevin Bacon. I think his main weapon as an actor is his charm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he is so fucking charming. That charm can be used for good or it can be used for fucking evil.
Don't I know it? Mm.
Yeah, and when he is bad, he is so bad. When he's watching Meryl Streep skinny dip, and you're just like, no, Kevin Bacon, don't do that. But also, keep doing that.
And then poor, like, Davis Strathairn, who's just like, I'm a dad. What are you doing?
My other favorite thing, before we get out of it, and we will get out of it, is the kid who my brain...
He's the guy from Jurassic Park.
Timmy,
whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, my favorite thing about him is, and he's very good, and everybody knows that listens to this podcast knows our opinion on kid actors, but Joseph Mazzello is his name. But hearing some of the dialogue that comes out of his mouth, it's like, oh yes, this is a mid-30s screenwriter.
So you saw Jane's Addiction. Wish I could have seen them before they broke up.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Relax, child.
No, exactly.
So we're in this like new phase of his career where he's now playing more character parts. You know, he plays the bad guy villain in The River Wild. He's in Murder in the First, which I sadly didn't see, but like he's talked about how it was a very hard shoot. He lost a bunch of weight for it. That's the one where he's on Alcatraz, right?
Yes. And Christian Slater is attempting to get him off, essentially free him, because he's spent years in prison. And he's handicapped, and yeah, it's good. His performance is very good in it. He stole $5 from a grocery store when he was a kid. It becomes a federal offense and basically gets held in prison forever because of it.
Same. In the same year, he also does Apollo 13. He's Jack Swigert. Again, he's not like the Tom Hanks character. He's like, you know, he's the guy who swoops in the end to join the mission. Also, I love in 1995, he does the voice of Balto in Balto. I think his voice is very striking and very unique. He's able to do that, like, kind of like, he has a kind of a high-pitched voice, but it's like very, I don't know, it's like high-pitched bro. I don't know. But I love Balto and I love his voice. He does Sleepers. He does Picture Perfect, which he also plays a sex maniac. Also not the lead, not even the romantic lead. Just like kind of a bad guy. This is when Jennifer Aniston was trying to be a movie star. Lol.
Go back to Friends Where You Belong.
Please. In 97, he has Digging to China, where he plays a special needs human being on the spectrum. He's like an adult who befriends a child. And I gotta say, I hate this movie. It's, she's bad.
I don't know her, so...
Okay, good. We're gonna keep going along. In 1998, he makes Wild Things. Not only does he star in this movie, he executive produces this movie, and I had forgotten everything about this movie, what it was about. All I knew or remembered was that the girls made out in the pool. Forgot that casually Bill Murray's in this movie, and I don't know what this movie is going for. I don't know, except for like porn, like truly, like.
So, go on. I was just going to say, so the movie Wild Things is directed by John McNaughton, who would later go on to direct my 1-star review for Catherine O'Hara.
No way.
Yeah. So just to give you a perspective of how he feels about sex.
The best thing about Wild Things is just like the music, I think, because the music is very moody and like kind of fun. But like, I knew that there's like double crossing and triple crossing, but this movie goes above and beyond. It is a crisscross applesauce nightmare of, like, all y'all wanted a twist times 10,000. But I don't know, if you want to see fucking teen girls exploited, here is that movie for you.
But also Kevin Bacon's dick.
Kevin Bacon's dick, yes, correct.
3 of you gonna go down to the Caribbean together? Live happily ever after? Because, see, the thing about it is that threesomes rarely work out.
You're out of your mind.
I mean, it's hard enough for one person to keep a secret, let alone 3. Especially when 2 of them are in love.
We get to 2000, it's Hollow Man. I don't know if we have anything else to say about Hollow Man. All I can say is that he has said it's maybe the hardest role he's ever taken on, just because physically he thought in his head that
this is my favorite thing. Please go on. Please tell us what he thought, because
he thought
brilliant.
He didn't have to be in the movie, that he was just going to dub his voiceover, but because he'd be invisible. In fact, he is in the movie the entire time, but not only is he in it, but he was the green screen, so he had to be an entire green outfit, green contacts, green over his teeth and lips. He sometimes
and not just green. Like they had to use multiple colors in this movie because they had many different backgrounds, and they needed to find the thing that worked best. So sometimes brown, sometimes black for the pool scene.
It was just like Okay, also, this movie is The Invisible Man, but, like, made for the 2000s new metal garbage era. And he also has to, like, wear these, like, masks, and, like, he could only eat and drink out of a straw. The movie is cuckoo bananas, and, like, from the jump, when they're, like, casually fucking having apes running around as invisible apes, and, Josh Brolin looking snackier than ever, though.
I do love the fact that Elizabeth Shue was given top billing in that movie. I love Elizabeth Shue.
Sebastian, god damn it.
You have no idea how much fun this is. You should try it.
I'm sure I'll have my chance.
Hey, relax. It's my last night, so I thought we'd try one more experiment.
Sebastian.
Can you guess what this is?
What?
How did it feel?
A little too familiar.
Paul Verhoeven, who directed it, has said it's one of his least favorite of his own films. He took the job for money. It was something that he didn't feel super proud of. But I will say this, and this is controversial. I also don't like it. I don't think it's very good, but I think it's better than the last Invisible Man movie that just came out. Sorry, Elizabeth Moss.
Wow.
She was good in it, though. She's good in Invisible Man. It's just a bad movie.
I haven't seen it, but that's a hot take.
Yeah.
The take, she's hot.
Piping, steaming, boiling.
In 2003, we get to Mystic River, which again is he works with his past friend, Sean Penn. Again, not the lead. And again, also kind of like taking a step back to let these other assholes chew up some scenery. Because Sean Penn is Sean Penning about. And then you also have Tim Robbins, who, you know, is kind of like between him and Sean Penn, they're like the emotional seesaw of the movie, right? And Kevin Bacon is just like kind of the cop doing his job and trying to get to the bottom of it. I had never seen Mystic River. I did not know if it was like a sequel to Mystic Pizza.
It's long. It's very long.
It's long. It's not the happiest topic. But I liked it. It was good. I think he's really...
It's one of the better Clint Eastwoods.
Yes, I will say that. When I say Mystic River is not the most digestible of content, because in 2004 he's in The Woodsman, which talk about like hard to watch movies. This is, I guess, trigger warning. The Woodsman is about a pedophile, and so it's a hard watch. I think it's very fucking good though.
It is very good. I've not seen it since college because I was like, am I prepared to rewatch this? I don't think so. But I do think it's genuinely one of his best performances.
I had never seen it, and it's truly like the tiniest of movies. Keira Sedgwick's in it with him. And it was like a first time filmmaker straight out of NYU, Nicole Castle. He's just very, very good in it. I don't know. Trying to bring humanity to the worst thing that, you know, like it's just like a really tough watch. And he said, you know, I've had friends who said, I just couldn't go in the theater and watch this. I couldn't, you know, and I think the movie does a good job to not like absolve him and not kind of like make statements of like either way. It's just like, this is a guy who's trying to, you know, move on after he's served his time for these, you know, atrocious acts he did. So yeah, The Woodsman.
Kids take naps. You ever take a nap, Rosen? I don't want to talk about this. What the hell are you doing back there?
Did you and your sister often take naps?
I want you back in your chair now.
I'm sorry.
I don't like nobody behind my back.
Walter, what did you do while taking naps with your sister?
Nothing.
Did you touch her? Did you take her clothes off? You take your clothes off?
Oh, this is bullshit.
I'm only asking questions.
We talked about him in Beauty Shop in our Queen Latifah episode. Also forgot to mention during this time he is having an iconic run playing himself on Will and Grace. Oh my God. I mean, maybe that was where, no, because Hollow Man was before that. But yeah, in 2002, he starts, I think he has 2 maybe episodes where he comes out. A crazy movie that he is in, The Air I Breathe, 2007. Bonker movie that Pretension, the movie, some might say. He's like in all these like little bitty things. He's in Frost Nixon. He's in a lot of like smaller things. He has said during this time he like always was like giving the block to any TV. He just wasn't that interested in he thought like if he was gonna do TV, it was like the end of his career. He was waving the white flag like it's over. He does, however, do a TV movie for HBO in 2009, Taking Chance. That was the last thing I saw today, which has a very small cameo by Matthew Morrison as a cowboy, and I don't like it. But the movie is very
the movie is very good. I saw the movie along maybe like 2008, 2009. But yeah, I think he's really good in it too, and it's not an easy subject. No. And I mean, I don't know. It's a very human movie. Yeah. He's a Marine who's tasked with bringing a dead soldier back to
their family. Yeah. All I can think of was like, man, I fucking hate war. War is stupid. Fuck the military. Yep. But also like, and also like, it's one of the purest forms of like, there is no glory in this. It's just sacrifice, right? You know, like, and I think the idea that somehow sacrifice is part of glory is so stupid. We have like brainwashed ourselves and generations of young people that there is some glory in this, and it's just like there's no glory in like a 20-year-old having to be shipped home and their parents just like grieving their son. Like it's just sacrifice, and the movie is very affecting. So if you have got HBO, check it out.
So what's your destination, Sergeant?
I'm headed to Rochester. It's about 90 miles from here. My family is meeting us there.
Are you related to the deceased son?
Yes, sir. He's my brother.
He has never been nominated for an Academy Award, has never won. Like, he's not an awards
But you can
guy.
connect him to some more award winners than Less Than Six Steps.
Yes. Also, he did get a Golden Globe Award for this movie, though.
Yes.
This
Deservedly
is
so.
Yes. Moving forward a little bit, he has his Marvel moment. He's in X-Men First Class. He plays Sebastian Shaw. I think he's very good in this movie.
He's very good in it. And I remember seeing that movie in the theater and being like, Kevin Bacon, whatever. And I was like, oh, no. He's great. And he is 100% not who I would have cast in that role at all in a million years. And I think... And also, I feel bad because he has to have scenes with January Jones, and so like it's him trying to act against a brick wall, and like he's just pulling it off and being his Kevin Bacon self.
That movie, I mean, First Class is the parts are better than the whole, I think, as I would say. But like James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Kevin Bacon are like just three fun dudes having fun on a very silly movie.
I don't want to hurt you, Eric. I never did. I want to help you. This is our time, our age. We are the future of the human race. You and me, son. This world could be ours.
And now we kind of get to like the area of his career, which is like, I don't know. I truly don't know. It's like spooky, ooky, thriller, I'm a charming bad guy era. We get Cop Car. He finally relents and goes into TV and does The Following. He says, because he directed a couple episodes of Kira's show, The Closer, and he finally realized, oh, there's a lot of good stuff happening on TV. But like in that same vein, he's in The Following, he's in Black Mass, The Darkness. There are all these just movies where it's like, what are you doing, Kevin? What's going on?
I mean, I definitely think part of it is, part of it's the challenge, and part of it's that I think he doesn't say no to a lot of things now.
Right.
But like The Darkness, which is awful, just genuinely awful. But like that movie is a super micro budget horror movie, and like Paul Reiser's in it, so you have like the diner connection, and there's like a bunch of random other people in it that I was just like, yeah, I could say everybody did that, like showed up for like 2 weeks to shoot this movie and got paid. And
his other big TV project that was sadly cut short was I Love Dick on Amazon. He's in a series right now called City on a Hill, and he also just had a movie come out, You Should Have Left. It came out like a couple of weeks ago with Amanda Seyfried.
Yes, and it's his big like reteaming with David Koepp, who he did Stir of Echoes with.
Cool. And that kind of gets us up to now. Like he's had such a long and varied career between like these thrillers, romance, like big blockbuster rom-coms, superhero stuff. It's kind of jarring and a little bit of whiplash. You see him everywhere and at so many different like levels. Like it's hard because sometimes you see him in these like really Oscar baity type of things, and like you see him like really serving it and giving it, and then other times it's like Tremors, like what the fuck, like it's and he is able, like he has such a sensitive like dial of how he can like calibrate himself to each project. It's a little bit shocking to see him on all these different like levels and planes. But yeah, it's I don't again, you don't really think about him when it comes to like acting, like capital A acting. But it's during this 2 weeks going through all this, I was like, oh my God, like he has the range, you know, seeing Taking Chance and The Woodsman. It's like, oh my God, it's so affecting. It's so emotional. He's giving you, and he doesn't do that scenery chewy thing though. It's so introspective and it's very controlled and tight. And then on the very opposite end, you have things like, you know, Footloose. You have, He Said, She Said. You have all these like kind of more broad things where he's just like being charming and kind of serving you great hair and like loose hips.
Real quick, you know, he has a bunch of other stuff going on outside of, you know, he is directing. He directed a film in the early 2000s called Loverboy that played at Sundance, starring his wife. I watched it today. It's better than it deserves to be. It's definitely a first-time filmmaker movie. Like, it's got, you know, but like Sandra Bullock's in it and Marissa Tomei's in it. So it's got a lot of people that are giving it their all, and it's interesting to say the least. He also is in a band with his brother.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, his other big passion is music. Him and his brother are the Bacon Brothers. They have 6 albums together, which is still a lot. Him and his brother Michael, and they tour. So, you know that, and then on top of that, just real quick, we mentioned 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. The idea behind 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon is you can get back from any actor to Kevin Bacon within 6 moves. He hated it at first. He thought it was a joke at his expense, but he was able to take it and turn it into something positively. You know, he believes it's like that we're all connected, and so he formed a charity called 6degrees.org.
6 Degrees to me, if you really take me out of it, not only is it a beautiful notion, it's an important notion. That's what we do. We make connections.
Because all of us are just a few degrees away from somebody that really needs our help.
Enabling people to become celebrities for their own causes by donating or raising money for any charity in the United States. So it's cool that he was able to take something that he was initially like not that proud of and make it into something like a huge net positive.
Right. I think he's kind of just like, why me? Like, you can do this with anyone. And he thought it would go away pretty quickly. But, like, I think that's just kind of a statement to his varied and long work, you know? Like, this 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon has been around for a long while. It was, like, college students in Colorado who made it up or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, obviously the longer he's with us and making work and working with people, like it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And he talks really eloquently and well about the whole idea. Like, obviously it's about him, but like he's like, the idea though is literally that we are all separated from each other within 6 degrees, and we all need to help each other out and like be part of, like, we're part of this one big community. I think he said, like, we're all flying on the same rock. And so we got to be there for each other. And I think that's really beautiful. I mean, it's clear that he's thought a lot about it, because it really did affect him when he was thinking, like, are they taking the piss out of me? Like, are they, you know, trying to like be assholes about, and he said he met them, and he said that, look at the guys who made it up, and that they're really nice and big fans. And he, I think he's obviously come to peace with it. I will say, I think he hates talking about it now, though. I think right now he's like, enough, who cares? Like,
there's a number of things. My favorite fun fact I learned about him is oftentimes if he's attending a wedding, he will tip the DJ not to play Footloose.
Yes, which is a shame, because it's a banger. It slaps. The song Footloose plays at least 3 times in the movie Footloose, and I wanted it to be more.
They know what they have.
A hit. Okay, Gavin, let's get into our picks.
Let's start with our 1-star reviews.
My 1-star review, I watched this movie yesterday, and I think there was a lot to choose from. There is a lot of kind of clunkery things going on. There is. But my 1-star review is 1988's She's Having a Baby, by John Hughes. I say this with a little bit of regret in my heart, because he has said how much he loves this movie and how much John Hughes loves this movie. And to that I say, why? This movie might as well be called like Fragile Masculinity, the movie. It's clearly something was going on with John Hughes at this time. This movie stars Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth McGovern, who you might know from Downton Abbey. and literally it's just them freaking out about getting married and then later freaking out about having a kid. That's it. It's such a plain vanilla, concept. And I've heard Kevin say, he basically was playing John Hughes. John Hughes was having these same ideas and going through these feelings of, marriage and having kids or whatever. And I just hate movies where it's like, well, I guess I gotta get married now, and oh no, I'm in this like it's very like straight white people problems. It's like,
right,
honey, like it's just not that big of a deal. There are some fun things that John Hughes is trying to do in here. There's like one moment where he goes out on the lawn and see, like, I think the gag is like him and his wife, who he like kind of, it does that thing where it's like, no, I love you, we're gonna be together forever, but then like you cut to him on the wedding day and he's having like hallucinations of like, oh no, what am I doing? I'm like, do you guys like each other or not? I can't tell. Right. The movie wants us to believe that they like each other, but literally every scene is of them fighting and complaining about being together and their like life that they're like, and a lot of it is like, oh no, they moved out to the suburbs. Oh no, they got a house with like awful neighbors. And I just can't believe like this idea of like middle class straight white people who are terrified of this life that they're very lucky to have. Like, I don't know. I'm like, fucking cry me a river. There is one scene that's fun where he goes outside and like there's this like kind of dance break musical moment where like everyone's mowing the lawn and the wives are coming out with, and so he's like kind of caught in this like nightmare of like suburbia, which there is something there, but like also, I don't know, fucking divorce your wife and like do what you want to do, bro. Like, I don't know.
Well, and that's one of the problems with a movie like this is obviously like you've got to break, in order to be relatable to your audience, you got to break it down to the things that like advance the story. But if the only things that advance your story are constant conflict of the couple, then there's nothing for the audience to latch onto to be like, these two should stay together, and therefore when they do, it just feels hollow. You're just like, I don't understand why, like, what am I supposed to get out of this? That all life is misery? And
yeah. Right. And there's also like the B plot of his best friend played by Alec Baldwin, who's like living the like bachelor life in New York, and how that's so unsatisfactory, and you think you want whatever. But like this movie literally probably is a good concept for a show. It's not for like a movie. It's like there is no conflict except you're scared about like committing to a life of monogamy and domesticity. Like, wow, groundbreaking.
What do you want to talk about? Kids. You want kids?
Don't you?
It's irreversible.
So?
I'm not in the mood for irreversible action right now. Let's go to sleep. Having our parents here has distorted everything. It's not a good time to talk serious.
I also don't think he's that good in it. Like his charm, I don't know what like mode he's playing here. He's caught in between like horn dog charming and then also kind of like dad role. It's bizarre. It's unfocused to me. I think he was kind of like lost into it. But again, when I've heard him say he's like he loved the movie. John Hughes loved the movie, but no one showed up. It was a big bomb. And honestly, I think he says it's because people thought like John Hughes had too good of a run. It was time for him to fail. I'm like, but it might be that the movie is a fucking snooze and no one wants to fucking see it. So, yeah, my pick is She's Having a Baby.
Okay, well, I'm going to move in a completely different direction, and I'm going to keep it very short because I don't really feel like there's much to say about this movie. But my 1-star review is 2013's R.I.P.D.
Oh my god.
R.I.P.D. is a movie. R.I.P.D. is Men in Black.
Oh, okay, yeah. it's Men in Black.
It's Men in Black, except they're ghosts, and they're hunting down other ghosts. And this movie's big, like, instead of aliens, the ghosts are souls that are rotting, so they all look weird and everything. Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's the movie. Sorry, I don't have to give you any more of the plot. The only thing is, the movie begins with Ryan Reynolds and his partner. He's a detective, and his partner Bobby Hayes, played by Kevin Bacon, kills him, and so Kevin Bacon's the villain of the film, and you know this from the first 10 minutes. And that's it. And my problem with him in the movie is there's nowhere to go. They set him up as the villain at the beginning, and then they let you forget about him for a huge portion of the movie. He pops up every now and then they get back to him, and the special effects are so bad. And this was a very expensive flop, this movie, but everybody looks like a reject from a 90s video game in terms of it. So when he like shows himself to be like an evil ghost, he's got like a bifurcated head, but it's like super bad CG, so he no longer looks like Kevin Bacon playing a role, which is annoying because Hollow Man was 13 years beforehand.
And Hollow Man holds up. Like
the special effects are great in Hollow Man.
Yeah.
That may be the best thing in the movie. But but it's just frustrating to watch him walk through this role, this like, because he's not given any arc. And I think not that there's no way to make this movie good, because once again, it exists in a world in which we already have Men in Black.
Yes,
and so
correct.
It doesn't like it's like Men in Black meets Ghostbusters, and that's the pitch. And I'm sure that's all it was pitched on. I know it's based off a comic book, but I'm sure when they even pitched it, they were just like, Men in Black meets Ghostbusters. It's not funny. It's not charming. Ryan Reynolds is extremely obnoxious in it. I just think it's so funny that Ryan Reynolds is popular now because he finally found one obnoxious character that really works. And I say that with no hatred to Ryan Reynolds. I actually find him very charming. But like every movie he's in, it's basically just like one obnoxious character after another. But because Deadpool is inherently obnoxious, people are like, okay, he's a star now.
Can't wait for our Ryan Reynolds episode so I can talk about the other role that I think he's very good in, and will be my 5-star review, but I won't spill the beans just yet.
I think I know what it is. Yeah. And so Kevin Bacon's playing this Boston cop, and he can't do the accent. And I think it's really funny that he's now on a TV show playing a Boston FBI agent. And I watched in an interview, the interviewer was like, how do you think your accent is? And he's like, if you're from Boston, it's the worst thing you've ever heard. So
you know what, Kevin? Good for you, Kevin.
But yeah, and so it's just this mustache twirling. Oh, what I was saying. So the way to improve this, just a tiny bit, would be the twist being he's not the real villain. Like, that's the one thing you could do to maybe improve this, like, shitstorm of a terrible film. Jeff Bridges is in it, and I don't know what he's doing. Like, he's clearly just cashing checks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's awful and full of fat jokes.
Good.
Loves to pick on fat people. Yeah. R.I.P.D. 2013. Man, what a year.
What a year, what a movie.
Come on, Nikki, you thought I'd just let you bring me here if I didn't want to be here all along? Isn't this thing sweet? Freezes you guys up, does nothing to us. They got one of these artifacts for everything.
Was there anything else you saw that you didn't particularly like?
I was going to say Digging to China. It's I don't know. It's so tricky, and I don't think that a lot of movies would be made now of like famous A-listers playing someone who is on the spectrum. It's cringy to watch. It's cringy to watch. He plays Ricky, who is being sent off essentially for like housing for special needs adults, and he like befriends this little girl at a hotel, and it's just cringy seeing him kind of like do the tics and be very like the voice. I don't know. It's the little girl is like precocious, so like she becomes friends with him, and like only he understands her, and vice versa, and like the moms don't understand, and this man is is he being sexual to her, and like what's going on, and it's cringe all the way through. And I just think that Kevin Bacon's powers of like being quirky left of center characters, this is where it really fucking flops. Like he thought, and oh honey, he was wrong.
Don't forget to miss me.
I won't.
Get off the ropes. Let him go.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm leaving now.
Okay, bye.
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 Where the Truth Lies is really bad, which is unfortunate because it's a good cast, and Adam Agoyan is normally a good filmmaker, and it doesn't work at all. Death Sentence from 2007 is just a truly awful Death Wish ripoff, and he becomes like a vigilante trying to kill the people that I think killed his child. I saw it once, and I was never going to go back to it. But the one I will say, the one that pains me to say, is because I think the movie is good, and I think he's actually actively bad in it, is a 2009 film called My One and Only. It's a film that's based off of all things, George Hamilton, the actor's early life. He had this flighty mother who moved them around the country trying to get remarried because Kevin Bacon was their deadbeat band leader father. And Renee Zellweger plays the mother in it. I think she's actually pretty exceptional in the movie, and unfortunately this movie bombing is what forced her into a 6-year hiatus. And yeah, nobody saw this movie, but it's actually very, very entertaining, and I would say that the scenes with Kevin Bacon drag it down, because for some reason he just can't pull off that, in this movie specifically, because I've seen him do it better before, that swarthy deadbeat, sort of womanizer,
right?
But also I think that he doesn't have a ton of chemistry with Renee Zellweger, and even though she's giving a lot to it, it never connects between them. And so I would give that movie, that movie's a solid 3 stars, but he is a 1 star in it. So yeah.
I have to also just go back to The Air I Breathe from 2007. I don't know if you've seen this movie, but literally Kevin Bacon plays the character Love. Sarah Michelle Gellar plays Sorrow. Forrest Whitaker plays Happiness, and Brendan Fraser plays Pleasure. It is...
Oh, so he's reprising his role from Gods and Monsters?
Yeah, from Tarzan.
Yeah.
George of the Jungle, I mean.
I guess we all have our Pleasure, Brendan Fraser.
Mm-hmm. Now, Gavin,
let's move into our 5-star reviews. So my 5-star review isn't going to win any polls. I know this, but it is a film I particularly really like, and I rewatched it, and I was just like, damn, I'm right, and that's 1999's Stir of Echoes. Stir of Echoes is a spooky movie, so I did not expect you to watch it. But I do recommend, it's not that bad. And there's some gross out stuff at the beginning. Unfortunately, I watched it with Dan, and he, kind of left after the first couple gross out things. He's like, why has it got to be so gross? But it's essentially a film. He plays a blue-collar, working-class guy in Chicago. His accent's maybe a little iffy, but I don't really know anybody from Chicago, so I'll give it to him. And him and his wife, played by the completely underrated Catherine Irby, who I love, they live in this house, and clearly their kid is already having some psychic dalliances with some spookiness that's going on. Her sister, played by also the amazingly underrated Ileana Douglas, who's another
we
love her. She's a little witchy, and she's into new agey stuff, and she
shops a Hot Topic.
Yeah, absolutely. She's maybe a lesbian. There's hints of it, but
love that.
She's at least open, and and she hypnotizes him at a party, and she leaves the suggestion in his head that he should be more open.
What the hell was that? What?
Are you okay? You were faking it. You had to be
That was the
faking
weirdest goddamn thing I've seen in my life.
He was faking
Congratulations, Tom. You're one of the lucky 8%.
You still have tears on your cheeks.
What the hell did she do to me? Christ, I'm thirsty.
Wait, what do you mean? What 8%?
Well, I mean, there's only 8% of the population that's highly hypnotizable. I mean, almost anybody can go under a little, but not way under. Not freaky under, like he did. How's your hand?
What do you mean?
Dude, I stuck a safety pin in your hand and asked you to bleed on one side, but not the other.
Which I can't believe you did.
You were very cooperative. It was a side of you I hadn't seen before.
That happened.
And suddenly he starts having psychic visions in his house of a dead girl. And the movie becomes, from there, I mean, like I said, a little spooky, but from there, really, it becomes a mystery of trying to figure out, like, why this girl is appearing to him, how she died, and, like basically helping her move on. And I think this movie, for a horror movie, has a lot of heart. There's some really effective scares, mostly towards the beginning, but I think for the most part, it's really about character. I think what's great about Kevin Bacon's performance in it is that he is playing this sort of everyman thrust into this very strange situation. But it doesn't feel like he knows. It's not one of those things where, like, I find often in these movies where somebody is thrust into this world, of something they don't know, they're like, well, I got to fight against it or whatnot. But he gives into it, and it's so well played and so well thought out, and you can see, like, he's clearly making choices as a film. And I'm not saying, like, you're seeing the acting choices, but that there's, like, reasoning behind everything he's doing. I really like his chemistry with both Catherine Irby and Ileana Douglas. I think the mystery's really interesting. Now, like, trigger warning, there's some sexual violence in this movie. But Jennifer Morrison from House plays the ghost in the movie. It's really well shot and plotted, and it has a little bit of that, like, it's so funny that you said the, like, new metalness of Hollow Man. This is 99, and so it's, like, heading that direction, but it has that, like, that right on the edge. And the biggest crime of anything is this movie, as I mentioned, came out in 99. August 10th of 99, Sixth Sense comes out. This movie comes out September 10th. I couldn't find a single review of this movie that didn't mention The Sixth Sense. And so it was just kneecapped, even though the story goes back much longer because it's based on a Matheson novel from the 50s. So, yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy this movie. Like I said, it's not going to win our poll. I don't care. But if you have the chance to watch it, it's very good and holds up. And also the hypnotism sequences are really amazing. Like, they decided to show you what he's experiencing during the hypnotism, and they are shockingly good for what could be a very cheesy, boring effect.
I was very, like, if I had, one more day, I would have watched Stir of Echoes. It was, like, the one horror thing that I was, like, considering, because I have heard him talk about how much he enjoyed making this movie and how shitty it was that it came out after Sixth Sense. He said that he knew, they were like, we knew Sixth Sense was coming out, and we tried to, like, rush and get it out before, or, whatever. But that the marketing and whatever, they just didn't go a fuck.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Well, thank you.
My pick is 1991's Pirates. I did
watch this, by the way. I did see this. So
I just think Pirates, like we mentioned earlier, is a kind of bizarre romantic comedy. But kind of like also satire, essentially, of romantic comedies, where he is, they're both like artists, aren't they? Yeah, he's an artist who's a photographer, and he's just like at a club with his good friend, and sees Kira Sedgwick across the hall, and they immediately have this, like, really carnal attraction to each other, and they both are just, like, turned up to 11s and just, like, really kind of rambunctious. They're young, they're beautiful, they're full of energy. And what I love about this movie is that, like, they match each other note for note on energy and, like, on the sexual wants and needs. It's not like he's so crazy for her and she's like, no, ew. And it's not her being, like, a prude either. She wants to fuck. Like, they are both just, like, and they were married by this time, so maybe it's just, like, the effect of them knowing each other that well and having this, like, intense love for each other. But, like, it's just so fun seeing them play. And the movie is just, the fire and like the movie has like this really great kind of like B movie thing running through it where when the fires happen, like they cut to like buildings burning down and like full cities being fled.
Well, it begins with it's funny that we both chose Chicago movies. It begins with like the Great Chicago Fire. It ends with the Great Chicago Fire. It's very 90s independent. Like it's got like the interstitial titles and whatnot, and there's a lot of direct address to the camera between them.
You want to talk about good sex? Liam, she had visions.
Visions. Who'd you fuck? Joan of Arc?
and you come again and again, just over and over until you think, this is it. I mean, I'm never gonna come again, not in this life. And then you're coming again.
No. This was not fucking. This was transcendent, physical immersion.
But you're right, their chemistry, I mean, it always is, but like that movie, it's really off the charts. Even when they're like fighting and they're like, we should see other people, and like, yeah.
And so the movie, like, they take all these precautions. There's a lot of great jokes about like, we turn off the gas when we have sex, and like we make sure like, you know, we have fire extinguishers around. Like, it's really funny. But then this idea like that there is inherent danger when it comes to love. Like, there is going to be danger. People are going to get hurt, including yourselves. And this idea of like, you know, in the end, do you walk away and like to not be hurt and to not like, you know, get burned? Or do you say fuck it and you watch the world burn together? And it's just like, oh, like it's so ridiculous, but like this movie sticks the landing. Like all those interstitials and them like direct dressing the camera and the audience are so good because it's so stylish. The way that they look, the way that they're dressed, and their friends who are like, God, they can't live without each other. They're like their whole world is consumed, and it's so crazy. And his art at times suffers for it, and then other times it's better for it. And it's I just think it's like the most interesting and fun kind of spin take on a rom-com mashed up with this weird B movie that you know, and he is exuding that Footloose charm that we love, but then combining that with like the character actor weirdness of these smaller parts that he takes, and you get this movie. And I don't think it's I don't know, because that this movie is a small movie. Like literally the Wikipedia and IMDb page for this movie is nothing. Like it's bare bones. I don't know how this movie was made, where it was made. It's directed by Noah Stern. There's no dramaturgy about this movie anywhere, but I think it's telling because a lot of, I think, Kevin Bacon's best roles in movies are tiny little things that a lot of people have not seen. And this one is just like fun, and him really utilizing those hips and those lips, honey.
I don't know if I liked it as much as you, but I'm very happy you picked it. Does that make sense? Like that, like I think it's a worthwhile, and it's good to like push people to, because it's not, first of all, it's not an easy find.
No.
But we both did find it, so you can find it.
DM me if you want it.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Good pick. Yeah.
I'm a cinephile, Gavin. So fuck off.
But was there anything else that you saw that you particularly liked?
I think The Woodsman, if you are able to get through it, is very good. Colin Firth said it was the best acting of the last decade in the 2010s. He was asked by the New York Times Magazine, and he pulled out Kevin Bacon in The Woodsman. And I think the subject matter is really tough. He's talked about how nothing scares him, though. No roles scare him. He's not worried about, what people think of him. And I think that obviously shines through in this movie. But the movie also is populated with a bunch of interesting choices. So Kira's in it, but also Eve is in it. Benjamin Bratt's in it. I don't know. I don't want to say too much about it. I think if you want to see a complicated movie that is tackling maybe one of the most complicated and horrific subject matters that there is, and kind of sticks to landing. I don't, I can't recommend that movie enough. I think Taking Chances is really good. He's very good in it. I was definitely weeping my fucking face off in the living room when I was watching that. And then, like, you can't be mad at Footloose.
I was gonna say, obviously we talked about Footloose, and if you want to listen to our Christopher Guest episode, we talked about the big picture a lot, and I still really think it's worthwhile for people to see. If you want to see a really good performance in a really terrible movie, Criminal Law, he's very good in. It's the first Gary Oldman with an American accent movie. And he's like Kevin Bacon's like a serial killer, and Gary Oldman's his like corrupt lawyer that he like tries to invite into his world of serial killing.
For just like silly fun watches, I think you have to do like the trifecta of Footloose, X-Men First Class, and Tremors.
Yep.
It's just like pure popcorn fare that is easy watching, like perfect for, friends are over. And like, do you want to see Reba like fucking shoot a giant gun into a sandworm? I got the movie for you, honey.
She doesn't do a lot of films, and that was basically her one chance, and Fancy did not let us down.
No.
But my last one that I do want to mention is a little film he did in 1997 called Telling Lies in America. It's with Brad Renfro, and it's a shame that Brad Renfro is no longer with us, because I don't think he's amazing in this movie, but I do think there's shades of like a really good actor. But this is a film in which Kevin Bacon, once again, it's like he's not the lead, but he's the secondary lead, and he's this con man radio host named Billy Magic. This is a role John Candy really wanted, and his agent talked him out of it, and I don't know why. But he's this like really slick, really like assholey scam artist who like takes Brad Renfro, who's emigrated as a child from Hungary, whose mother died in the immigration camps, and he like takes him under his wing, and it's a shockingly tender film from the writer of Showgirls, Joe Esterhaus.
No way.
Yeah, and I don't know. I really like this movie, and I think Kevin Bacon captures that late 50s, early 60s era really well, especially when he's playing such a creep.
You want a job, Slick?
I got a job. I work at the West Side Market every night.
Oh, okay, never mind.
What kind of job?
Help me out down the station. Afternoons, after school. Record hops on weekends. $100 a week, more sometimes.
$100 a week?
More sometimes.
Why do you want me to do it?
I don't know. I feel bad about the way I gave you a hard time before. I didn't mean to.
Also, very young Jonathan Rhys-Meyers for like a scene, and very young Callista Flockhart the same year Ally McBeal started.
Wow.
So but once again, nobody saw this movie, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Telling Lies in America, I would go to bat for that.
I guess that wraps it up. Should we do our mixed reviews review?
Absolutely. My 1-star review was 2013's R.I.P.D.
My 1-star review was 1988's She's Having a Baby.
And my 5-star review was 1999's Stir of Echoes.
My 5-star review was 1991's Pirates.
All right, let's get to that. Fast forward.
Gavin, I love that we both picked these movies that no one has seen.
No.
And we will flop in the poll. I have not won a poll in 10,000 years.
I thought you won one recently, but maybe I'm wrong. As you mentioned up at top, he has a movie out right now. It's on demand.
Yes.
If you demand it. I saw it. It's called You Should Have Left. It's not my favorite.
You should have left.
Yeah, I should have left. Probably in the middle. I don't think he's bad in it. I know it was the movie was super controversial because the trailer gives everything away. And let me tell you, the trailer gives everything away. There are no surprises in this film. And also he's playing a man married to Amanda Seyfried, and people are like, ooh, age difference, but like that's part of the plot. So, yeah, because he's like been married before and his wife died mysteriously and she's his new wife. And yeah, it's not good, but
there you have
but
it.
Hey,
but
You
at
know?
least he has his show, City on a Hill,
Yes.
which I think it's on Stars. Is that right? Showtime.
Yes, and it's co-created by Ben Affleck, and unfortunately, the other co-creator, a man from Boston who's friends with Ben Affleck, apparently said some really shitty things and was demoted from showrunner.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, the that is still going. I think it's entering its second season.
Right. I don't watch shows like that, so goodbye to you.
Yeah, that's not really in my wheelhouse either. I don't.
It's like
really...
I'm busy watching Korra again. I can't just watch straight men be cops or whatever.
Well, the other thing is it's like it's Boston investigating a string of bank robberies, and I was like, Ben Affleck, girl, you made this movie.
I know.
You made this film.
Enough.
But genuinely, like there's nothing listed coming up for Kevin Bacon.
Right. What I love though is that him and Kira for the longest time resisted moving to LA. They were New Yorkers through and through. And I love that about them. I love that they both came up through the theater, the stage, and I love that so much. I think he's given interviews where he's like, when you're in LA, it's like you either have a great movie and people love you, or like you're there in a flop and no one wants to talk to you. Like it's very just like focused on the work. And they raised their kids in New York, but they finally did, they bought a place in LA where because so much of like shooting, I guess, is happening out there for the shows. But yeah, I think for me, thinking about Kevin Bacon in the future, it's like he's truly able. He's one of those rare actors where he can do whatever he wants, but also like he's actually not just doing like whatever you want, as in like, oh, I'm gonna do whatever Oscar bait shit I want. It's literally like I'm gonna make the tiniest little movie that like no one's gonna see, but I want to do it because I want to do it. And on top of that, he's gonna like put money behind it. He's gonna executive produce it. He's going to involve people who he really likes and cares about, like, whether Kira's in it or not, or it's going to be people that he's worked with before. He seems like he's totally in control of his career, and he has been for a while. And I think after that kind of like identity crisis in the 80s and 90s, he has found this freedom and like breaking free from expectations of being the leading man. And he's found his niche in like this really beautiful long career it's so random and crazy. There are movies that are huge flops that are very good, and then there are movies that are huge successes that people give less critical praise to. And I think he again has that humility of being like, you know what, no, I've never been Oscar nominated and maybe I never will, but I am doing the work and I'm gonna do what I want to do.
And I think the other thing is, in counterpoint to what he says, because he doesn't really consider himself like a movie star, but I think you can still sell a movie on Kevin Bacon. I think the fact that You Should Have Left came out to digital wasn't just because they were like, hey, this movie was going to come out, so we need to dump it to digital. There's plenty of movies that are coming out that way. I think it was like, oh, his name carries, we can put this movie out and it will still make some money. I don't have the numbers as to how well it did or how well it didn't do, but you're right. And I think that's what it is too, is I think he is still, for all the jokes and all the like, oh, he's in everything, I think his name still carries an amount of weight that would get people to do it, even if he hasn't really done the leading man thing in a long time. And I'll be honest, I kind of like when he's in a horror movie. Sometimes he's bad and sometimes he's good, but he brings such an earthiness to it. When he looks scared, he looks fucking scared. And when he's being cruel, he seems like he's the worst person alive.
Yeah, he scares me. It in Hollow Man, I am scared of him. He is a fucking creepazoid.
He scared people so much that they had an ASPCA representative on the set to make sure that no animals were hurt. And the ASPCA still put in an investigation to the scene where he kills the dog.
Yeah.
And so they had to show them the raw footage of him picking up the dog, handing it to a PA, taking the fake dog, hitting the dog against the wall.
It's, I mean, and like you said, it's that thing of like, he's able to use his charm for good and evil. It's just like this very tight wire that he walks, and it's so comforting and beautiful when he is good, and then it is fucking freaky Friday when he decides to, like, I don't know, cut your face off. But yeah, I would love to see him, you know, I wonder if he ever thinks about, like, theater anymore.
I was just thinking that too, because one of the things we didn't mention, I mean, you mentioned the theater stuff at top, but, like, he was in Teresa Raybeck's first play, Spike Heels.
Wow.
And I would love to see him reunite with her on something too, because she's still just as fucking sharp. I love
Smash.
Well, I mean, she did great Smash, but I loved Bernhardt Hamlet. And, you know, I'd love for him to reteam with her on something like that and see him on stage, because I'm sure, I mean, that's one of the things, if the cameras can capture that charisma, honey, live.
Yeah. I mean, he just has presence, you know, and that's just like, and that's maybe like the X factor of being a star, and he has it in spades. And he still has that fucking feathered hair.
He does. I also love, and this is just a sidebar, and maybe I'll cut it out, but how you mentioned they're such New Yorkers. You know, I saw a couple interviews with him where they start off with, like, him just walking in public and people just coming up to take a selfie with him. And he's like, you know what? Like, being a celebrity is not so bad.
Yeah, he loves it. He tells a story often where he's like, he went incognito in LA and he hated it. He was like, no, I want people to recognize me. I want to give out autographs and, like, be recognized by fans. Like, he is so fucking chill. And again, he said he wanted to be a celebrity and famous, and it happened. And he is not going to, like, cry about it. He's not the celebrity that's going to be like, oh no. But on the flip of that, him and Keira Sedgwick are, like, been together forever, have a wonderful family. And all this to say, I don't think that they're, like, out there looking for paparazzi doing outrageous things. They're, like, so painfully normal. He just enjoys the work.
I've thought about that. I was like, I wonder if going to a dinner at Kevin Bacon and Keira Sedgwick's house would be so chill and so normal that would just impress the crap out of me, you know? But, yeah.
We love Kevin Bacon.
We do, and this was a lot of fun.
Often what you hear from celebrities is that it's such a pain in the ass, you know, oh, I can't go anywhere, and you know, people hassle me and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, yeah, there is a certain amount of that it's true, but 99% of it is really good. There's no secret to longevity. Longevity is the secret. If you just hang in there, I think.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, somebody goes, yeah, you know, I always liked that guy. Even if you suck.
I think that wraps up our Kevin Bacon episode. We did it.
We did do it. And if you want to contact us online, there's a myriad of ways if you want to get in on the Kevin Bacon action. Mm-hmm. So if you want to find us, you can find us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
You can find us on Facebook. Just type in The Mixed Reviews.
You can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
We're also on Instagram, _mixed_reviews.
Also, we are available on almost every podcasting app: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, Google, anything that you want. And if you do listen to us on Apple Podcasts, feel free to stop by, leave us a 5-star rating, and give us a little review. We'll read it on the show.
Yeah, I want everyone to message us on Twitter or Instagram or whatever and let us know, what's your favorite movie that has Kevin Bacon's butt in it? Or more than his butt. Whatever.
Also, can you connect yourself to him? Not just his butt.
Oh, I could connect myself to his butt. Oh, I could.
All right. Well, that I can't even compose myself. I'm blushing. Yeah, and that wraps up another amazing episode, and we will be back in 2 weeks with another fresh subject for you with our 76th episode.
Yes.
Ooh, we're getting up there.
Thank you, everyone, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Now I gotta cut loose, footloose, kick off your Sunday shoes. Please, Louie, pull me off of my knees, baby. Jack, or get back, come on before we crack. Lose your blues, yeah. Everybody cut footloose. First you got to turn it around. Second, put your feet on the ground now.